Welcome back to Muscular Dystrophy Warrior. Just like the last video, in every video, a moment of silence for all the fallen warriors who sadly lost the battle to muscular dystrophy. Sending prayers to all those families who have lost someone with muscular dystrophy. In the last video, I talked about the harsh truth that my parents will never be grandparents. I also opened up a little bit about a conversation we had last year related to that topic. But today I want to go deeper. Today I want to talk about something we don't talk about enough. Have my parents truly accepted the harsh reality of their only son living with muscular dystrophy? I think this is the key for so many families, accepting that they have a family member who has a progressive life-ending disability. Because a lot of times when we talk about muscular dystrophy, we only focus on the person living with it. We talk about how they cope with it, how they accept it, how they deal with it, but we don't always talk about the parents. We don't always ask how are they coping, how are they accepting it, are they still grieving the life they thought their child was going to have. And that truth is DMD doesn't just affect the person with diagnosis, it affects the entire family in different ways. I'll start with my mom. Before I even was diagnosed, my mama had already gone through something extremely painful. She had lost a daughter a few years before I was born. I talked about that in my life story video, so you guys haven't are new or haven't seen that video, I suggest you guys watch that video. Then 5 years later, she gets the news that her son has muscular dystrophy. Meaning five, like I said, I talked about this in my life story, living with muscular dystrophy. I can only imagine what did that do to her emotionally. She wondered why me, why my family, why my child. I feel like those are the questions every mom probably have asked themselves once in their life when they received a diagnosis of their son having muscular dystrophy. But slowly over time, my mom started accepting things, not because it was easy, not because it stopped hurting, but because she had to. She had to learn, she had to adapt, she had to become strong in a situation she never asked for, like no family asked for. My dad, on the other hand, has not fully accepted it. And honestly, I don't think he ever will. I feel like there's a lot of people, either the mom or the dad, that can't really accept it. When I was little, it was hard for him, honestly. When I got a little older, doctors started talking about the possibility of having back surgery, something a lot of individuals living with DMD have to face. That took an emotional toll on him. He told my grandma about it, and she tried her best to help him accept that situation, but it was an emotional time, I'll say. Thankfully, I ended up not needing back surgery, and to me, that's something to be thankful for, grateful for, blessed for. Any of those words, I feel like are the right words to say in this situation. There are so many families in the DMD community who wish they could have had that outcome, you know, and a lot of people that are in this situation, where doctors are talking about, your son having back surgery. I hope, I pray that they don't have to go through that stuff like I did, because I know people that went through that back surgery. And let me tell you, the recovery is rough. The surgery in general is rough. Any surgery is rough, but imagine the back surgery. Any surgery is rough. The recovery is rough. The surgery in general is rough. So I know people that had back surgery, and the recovery, the whole process was rough. So I pray that none of my new generations of individuals living with DMD have to get back surgery like myself. I really hope you guys don't, and I pray for you guys. You know, No backstory, like no major spine operation. A different path for me, that I wish a lot of, I wish every individual with DMD like myself can go through. Have a different path, not the surgery path, but a better path. No surgery. A lot of family will be grateful for that. I mean, I'm grateful for that, but my dad didn't see it that way. For him, there was nothing to be thankful for. Maybe deep down, yeah, maybe he's thankful that I didn't have surgery, but it didn't feel like, oh, it's over. He still has this disability, so it won't change anything. He might, maybe he never said maybe he is thankful for it, but he never expressed it, so I can't. It just feels like that. I think that shows how deeply he's struggling with anything connect, and I think that shows how deeply he struggles with anything connect to sickness, disability, or life or death. When my grandma was going through mental health struggles, and I didn't know, all he told my mom was, "My mom is sick right now." That was it. If you try asking anything else, he will change the conversation or walk away from the conversation. That's how he handles things. When it comes to, sickness, disability, life, or death, I didn't know, like, until I asked her, obviously, what was going on. He doesn't like talking about sickness. He doesn't like talking about medical stuff. He doesn't like talking about life or death. What I mean by that, he doesn't like talking when, you know, they tell, like, for example, my great grandmother, they told my grandma that, she's gonna pass away in a few months, few weeks. There was nothing they can do. Just be there for her until that happens. Which nobody wants a family member to pass away. So he didn't want to talk about it. He knew that was gonna happen, but for him, he tried to avoid that conversation. When I would ask like what's gonna happen, this and that, he avoided that. That's why I say life or death. When it comes to stuff like that about someone gonna pass away, this and that, I feel like nobody likes to go to funerals or see a family member they care a lot about, friend, family member, sister, brother passed away. But I know it's not the easy conversation, but I think he takes it a little too to the extreme. I say, in my opinion, but I feel like everybody grieves differently. And honestly, I think most of us don't like those conversations to a certain level, but with him, it's different. My mom has told him that when it comes My mom has told me that when it comes to my medical situation, sometimes he doesn't want to hear. He once told her something like, anything that has to do with muscular dystrophy, I don't want to hear it. Like anything the doctors say in the doctor's office, he never goes because he's he's at work. So my mom is the one who takes me to my doctor appointment. She takes me to my neurologist, pulmonologist, all the specialists we see. Those that have muscular dystrophy, who we see. We see neurologists, pulmonologists, who else? Physical, occupational therapy, primary care doctor, cardiologist, if I forgot to mention cardiologist, or any specialist in general. So he doesn't want to hear anything that my doctors, he doesn't want to know anything like, oh, if there's a new treatment, no, he doesn't want to hear. All I know is he's in his room and he's stable. That's all that matters to him. As long as I'm there, doing, whatever I'm doing inside, outside, inside. He knows that I'm stable, that's all that matters to him. As long as I'm stable. Yes, I'm stable, but I'm also a human being. I'm also his son. And there's more to my life than just being in my room, outside, I do other stuff. For a long time, my focus was school. I talked about it several times that I wanted to get my high school diploma. I wanted to show him that despite DMD, I could graduate. I could accomplish something. But when I graduated high school, it didn't really mean much to him. I mean, like, it didn't change how he viewed muscular dystrophy. That's what I mean. Maybe he was proud, like I said, deep down, but it didn't show. Maybe he was proud in his own way, as well. I'm not trying to say he's a bad parent. He When I was little, he always helped me with my math homework, 'cause I was horrible at it. So it's not like he's a bad parent. Maybe he cares. He was proud in his own way that I graduated. and stuff, because that's why I was focused so much on realistic goals, because I was like, I need that high school degree diploma, you know. Then I got my associate degree. Still didn't mean really much, but like I said, maybe he was proud in a certain, in his own way, you know. I say in his own way because, like for example, my grandpa from my mom's side, he never really showed in. My grandma would always tell me like Edward, like my grandpa's name was Edward. He's like Edward, you don't seem to care about your kids because you never, be like, oh, what are you guys doing? I'm proud of you guys or whatever. But like he would always say, from what my mom would tells me, he always say, I care about my kids in my own way. I might not express it how, if I'm proud, happy for them, I might not show that love, towards them, but I care about them in my own way. He didn't express it, but he only knew how much he cared about his kids. Maybe same thing here. I don't know. Honestly, guys, I don't know. It feels like that it still doesn't really mean much, but only he knows you know, what he's thinking, like everybody else. We all have our thoughts, that we don't share sometimes, but we only know how much we care about a person, or what are we feeling, are we sad, happy, Now I create content, I have my YouTube channel. I speak about, muscular dystrophy, disability awareness, and I interview. I share my story with you guys, but he doesn't really know much about that either. Last year we were celebrating the 4th of July, guys. I'm gonna share this. I have a cousin around my age. He had bought a nice truck from the dealership a few years ago. No, I think like 2 years ago. And let's be honest, guys, buying a vehicle from the dealership is a big deal for a lot of people. That's a dream. It's a milestone, buying a nice car. I mean, I'm not saying nothing wrong with buying a used car, but obviously, guys, we all want a new car from the dealership and stuff. One of those nice cars, a 2026, whatever car your dream is. I'm just saying 2026, but we're in 2026. Sometimes people be like, "Oh, I see the new car, the 2026, whatever brand whatever brand you guys buy, you know." You see 2026, I want the new 2026 whatsoever. I'm just saying, it's not bad. It's something you work hard for. It's not going to be free. Nobody's going to give you a freaking car from the dealership. You have to work hard. You have to put the work in, work hard, save money to just get that vehicle, whatever if that's something you want. Anyway, my uncle told my cousin to show me the truck, so we went outside see it. It was parked on my driveway because they obviously we did something here. And while that was happening, my dad told my grandma that he wished I could drive. Which that I don't know if it hit me or where was I going. I don't know if that hit me or not, but it kind of was like, you know, I try to focus on what I'm able to do, not what I'm not able to do. So he's more focused on what I can do rather than focus on what I could do. Because there's a lot of things people with DMD can do. Yes, we can do everything like everybody else, but there's certain things we can't. Like one of them is drive car. I mean, we can, but it's getting the right controllers, all that stuff. It's not like I go out. Let's say, for example, I go outside or out in public. You hardly see someone with muscular dystrophy driving a vehicle or with a disability. There are people, don't get me wrong, there are people out there with muscular dystrophy that drive their own vehicle, but it's not very common. And I wish it can become a thing, that we see more people with disabilities, more people in the DMD community having their own vehicle. That's something I would like to see. Because there are people with DMD and other disabilities who do drive, like I'm saying. Some use adaptive vehicles, some use special controllers, some use a regular car if you have like a upper body strength or had a car accident and you still will, able to drive because your upper strength, you still have upper strength. And DMD, you're getting weaker as the year goes on, weeks, months. But I know my dad. But I know my dad. Even if I bought my own vehicle with special control and told him, if I ever become a six, a sensation here on YouTube, creating content, bringing awareness, you know, even if I bought it with special control, I told him, show up, pull up. Let's say I pull up with my car, whatever, and be like, look, Dad, I have my own vehicle. I don't think he would see it in the same way like with that. Being happy with it, proud. He probably wouldn't be happy the way another parent might be because to him it wouldn't be normal driving. It won't be what I mean by normal driving. It won't be the same. It's not. It won't be the same like driving. But I'm like, I'm driving. That's the point. I'm doing something that a lot of people think that people would say we can't do. But I'm doing. You know, I'm. I'm doing something that it's not very common. Not a lot of people with DMD or disability drive. Not saying it doesn't happen. It's not very common. So imagine me being one of those few couple of few individuals driving and still receive that. That part hurts probably a little or bothers. Not a hurt, probably it bothers me. I know it's not the same thing like driving. Not having a disability, but it is what it is. We at least have something. Imagine many years ago we didn't have special controllers. If you think about it, to drive a car, now we do. Technology is advancing. There's so much technology that can help us be more independent. But to him, it's not the same. I know it's not the same, but it's helping people out. Because sometimes people don't realize that disabled people don't need to accomplish things the same way as everyone else for those accomplishments to matter. One milestone might look different from everybody else, but it still count. My mom told him many years ago that if he couldn't handle the situation, maybe it was best if they separate. Not because she wanted the family to break apart, because she knew how heavy it was for him. She basically told him he wanted to start a different life, maybe have another family, and hopefully have a son or daughter without DMD. Then he had that choice. She didn't want to force him to a life that he didn't want to be there. And a lot of people, who are parents to some to DMD, either the mom or dad leaves because it's too much for them. Maybe he could have been a grandpa someday if he would have started another family. That is a heavy conversation. That people probably don't think about it. People from the outside world, people that don't have a son with a disability, people that are not part of the DMD community, those that are parents, especially those single mothers out there that have a son with DMD, you know, that they do their best to, you know, do everything they can for their son. And it's not easy. Divorce rates are high when it comes to having a son with disability. I don't know how much the percentage is, but I know it has to be high because not a lot of parents, mom or dad, one of them can handle it. I don't say that to make anyone look bad. I say it because this is the reality of a lot of families deal with behind closed doors. Then last year we had another conference connected to the same topic, somewhat the same topic. I brought up the idea, what if somehow I had a son or daughter one day? I was like, what if I pull off a miracle? What if I pull off, for my fellow football fans out there, what if I pull off a Hail Mary? Like Rodgers does, like Aaron Rodgers did with the Lions a few years ago. I mean, years ago. I'm a Niner fan, but that's one of the greatest plays I ever seen. Hail Mary. Roger was throwing Hail Mary for the last couple of years. Was throwing them. You know. So I was like, what if I do that? Or what if I was like, what if I hit a miracle like Michael Jordan, the last game 6, in his last NBA final when he hit that three. Nobody expected it that he was gonna hit that three and win the game. So that's how I saw it. I was just saying it in that way. A little bit of you know in a humorous way, but also being real with stuff. And I didn't say exactly like that, but that was the idea. What if I somehow I pull a miracle off? I had a son one day. I just threw that idea, in a humorous way. you know, humorous but being real at the same time. That and the way my dad responded made it clear that he didn't believe that that was possible for someone like me. Basically, he was saying people with DMD can't, create life. You know, that's I think that's the best way I can say create life. Because I can't. I don't know if intimate could be the right word. I don't know if YouTube allow. I don't know how far I can talk. I don't even know how much I can say on YouTube, but that's the reality of the conversation. Create life. I think it's the right word. You guys know what I'm trying to say. Create life. Hopefully, because I can't really don't think how much YouTube will allow it. And that moment showed me something. Sometimes the outside world has stereotypes about disabled people, but sometimes even our own family can carry those same stereotypes. I don't know if my dad carried those It was a stereotype, but I don't know. I don't know if it was a stereotype. Doesn't believe. I don't know what was on his mind when he. Not because they hate us, but because they never fully accept what our life could still be. He wouldn't even accept that if somehow I pulled a miracle off. I pull a Hail Mary off, you know, and stuff. I hit a last minute 3-pointer shot, you know, having son, daughter, whatever, I know he won't believe it. For him, it still won't be the same because I have a disability. It can be a blessing, if that happened. Instead of being thankful, grateful like I would, no, it will be like, oh no, it's not the same guy. He has a disability. That's why I decided to make this video. Not for pity, not for views. I'm tired of the pity stuff. I'm tired of people looking at disability and only seeing sadness, stereotyping us. I'm tired of people assuming that because someone has DMD or any disability, their life has no purpose, no future, no dream, no love, no impact. Because DMD doesn't just affect the person diagnosis. It affects the parents. It affects the family. It affects the way people see the future. My mom accepted it in her own way. In her own way, my dad is still struggling with his own way, but he somewhat accepted it somewhat. And I have had to accept the fact that maybe he will never fully see my life the way I wish he would. Seeing norm. At least there's some that I still live somewhat of a normal life, but that doesn't mean my life has no value. That doesn't mean my goals don't matter, don't count. I want to quote Vin Diesel, aka Dom from Fast and the Furious, when he's like, ask any racer, any real racer, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, winning is winning, but how I would say in my case, and in so many, in my case, ask anybody living with DMD, I would say it this way. No, another way we can say what I'm trying to say is in my case, in my way, I'll say this quote my style. And in my case, ask anybody living with DMD, ask anybody living with a disability. We're tired of the petty stuff. We're tired of stereotypes. We're tired of people thinking our life has to look exactly like everyone else for it to matter, because it doesn't matter what disability you have. Your disability doesn't define you. Your milestones still count. Your life still matters. And winning is still winning. Doesn't matter if you have a disability or not, but if you're winning in life, you graduated college. Winning is still winning. You're winning because you graduated college. Despite your disability, you started a family without your disability. You drive without your disability. You work without despite your disability. You create content despite your disability. So winning is still winning. You're still winning in life. It doesn't matter if it looks different. You're still winning. And at the end of the day, winning is still winning. And that's it for this video, you guys. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And like always, guys, MD Warrior out. Until next time.